What is up, everybody? And in today's video, I'll give 4 points as to why the process died a slow, painful death. We'll get into it. As many NBA fans know, the origin of the process came about when the 76ers hired GM Sam Hinkie in 2013. Hinkie was a pretty good GM. He knew what he wanted to do, but the NBA didn't like exactly how he did it. Hinkie was a GM from 2013 to 2016, and his picks were not bad as a GM. In 2013, with the first pick, he took Michael Carter-Williams. In the same draft, he also picked Glenn Rice Jr. with the 35th pick, which he was a son of an NBA player. That was a good pick. 2014, he picked Joel Embiid with the 3rd pick. And later, with the 10th, he took Elfrid Payton and Jeremy Grant. All 3 of those guys have roles on teams. Now, whether they're all-stars is a separate matter, but Joel almost won MVP. That's 2 drafts with decent picks. 2015, he drafts Jahlil Okafor, who, although he has been considered a bust, was a pretty good pick going into the draft. And then that same draft, in the 2nd round at 35, he got Willie Herman Gomez, good role player, and Rashawn Holmes, at 37, who is the Kings starting center. Now, Hinkie, the records weren't good for the Sixers during that time. That was his plan. He made sure they bottomed out so they would get good draft picks. The NBA has since changed that rule so that the worst team doesn't just get the first pick. In 13-14, in Hinkie's first year, they were 19-63. In his second year, they were 18-64. And in Hinkie's last year under GM, they were 10-72. I think that is 3rd or 4th worst record of all time. Now, with that 10-72 pick, they were able to draft in the next draft Ben Simmons. Although, as of April 2016, Hinkie was sent away by the league, not exactly the Sixers. I think the Sixers would have left him in place. Now, my opinion on Hinkie may be different than a lot of people. I think Hinkie, judging by his drafting, was a fairly good GM. He just knew that the team wasn't going to pull any free agents. They hadn't won anything since 83, and they still haven't won anything since 1983. Dr. J, Moses Malone. There's others on the team. I hate to disrespect them, but that's the ones that come to mind. But Philly, I mean, they've got a great franchise, great fan base, but they just can't seem to pull anybody there. They had Iguodala and Drew Holiday, but that wasn't enough. But Hinkie knew he had to do something big, so this is what he did. And the NBA doesn't like tanking because it tanks ratings and it tanks viewership of people. Well, ratings and viewership are the same thing, but people coming to the arena to watch the game. Nobody wants to watch their team suck unless you're a Pistons fan, which, I mean, I've been to games the last few years, but that's a separate thing. But Sam Hinkie wasn't that bad of a GM, and I think he was about to turn it around because with the drafting of Ben Simmons, and then you would have had Embiid, you've seen it worked to an extent. Now, we'll get into later why it has been a struggle, but Hinkie was a pretty good GM, but the league made him fire him. And that was the first straw in what would become the death of the process. The second straw was Bruce Brown and his development. Now, you say, well, Bruce Brown was a pretty good coach. But if you look at the players that he has coached, there has been some struggles with each of them. Mainly his stars, specifically. With Embiid, at times he has not a lazy streak, but he gets zoned out. With Simmons, it's his shooting. You also had Markelle Fultz, who had bad shooting. Now, that's odd to me, specifically with the shooting. Now, the Embiid thing is a separate topic, but Simmons and Fultz, both number 1 picks, have an inability to shoot when they were both drafted number 1 by the same team, Philadelphia. Now, why is that? I mean, there's got to be a common theme between both. Why do both have mental issues with shooting the ball? There has to be something to that with either Brett Brown or somebody in the training or coaching staff in Philly. Why? You had 2 perfectly good shots there. Now, Fultz is a different thing we'll get into later in the video. But with Simmons specifically, in college and even in the summer league, he had little issues with shooting. I mean, even in the summer league, a lot of people dog him for his free throws, which is deserved because he shoots 40% and he's a point guard. But in the summer league in 2016, before he even touched the floor in a full Philly uniform, He shot 64% at the Summer League. Now, why between 2016 and 2021 has his free throw percentage dropped 10 to 20%? I really do think that Brett Brown just let him do what he wants because, it's Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is an all-star. But he really focused on his playmaking, told you're a point guard. And I think it's had mental implications for Ben Simmons going forward. I like Ben, and as Detroit, I'd be happy to have him. I really do think that Phillies, they might have to fire somebody in the training or somewhere, but it's just, they've got to get this turned around. But back to the process. Brett Brown's development was all right because Brett Brown as a coach, 16-17, 28 and 54. The next season, 52 and 30. These are the records, by the way. And in 18-19, they were 51 and 31 when they brought in Jimmy Butler that year. And then the next year they were 43 and 30, but that was with a hiatus and all that extra crap. But they trended in the right direction. Brett Brown was a fairly good coach for them, and they have these little issues that have killed them in the end. The third nail in the coffin was the Boston robbery, and by that I mean the 2017 draft, where Boston traded down from the first pick to Philly for the third and additional picks. Now, I don't know the additional picks, but either way, that was good for Boston, bad for Philly. Specifically bad for Philly because they drafted Markelle Fultz, who, going forward, had that shooting problem that I talked about previously under Bruce Brown. Now, who would Boston take? Jason Tatum, who was arguably the best person in that 2017 draft class. He's probably top 20 guy in the league. Now, I'm going to argue positions in this video of top 20. But Tatum is a very good player, and he leads that Boston team. He's the only player in that class. Maybe Mitchell's done it once, but 50-point games. I think Tatum has at least one 50-point game. He's been to the conference finals multiple times. And he's a monster. But Philly, even if they were going to draft a point guard in that draft class, screwed up because at the second pick, right after them, went Lonzo Ball, who has, although struggled with the field, has been a usable player in the NBA, whereas Markelle Fultz has had long periods of injury where he has been unable to play. Now, you got Jason Tatum, of course. Josh Jackson was not a good pick. But you also have De'Aaron Fox, who went 5. Fox has been the one bright spot for Sacramento. So if they had Fox, that would have been a good pairing with Embiid and Simmons. But they decided to go with Fultz. And that's, if they had Jason Tatum right now, I don't think we would be talking about the process being dead, because Simmons could have been a great third option in a team like that. But instead, he's having to be Robin, and I don't know if he's that type of guy. He may be, but for right now, doesn't look like it. But that 2017 draft, I really would like to know what Sam Hinkie would have done in that position if he had been scouting and seen who he liked, if he would have actually taken Jason Tatum, because Brian Colangelo looks like an idiot. He didn't really know what he was doing. I mean, since they fired Sam Hinkie, the drafts weren't as good. They didn't draft as well. I mean, they didn't really get too much. I mean, I think they got Rocco, but that was, you get better, you get less odds at a good pick. This was their last good pick that they had a chance at, and they screwed it up. The fourth and final nail/point I will say as to why the process is pretty much dead and now they're just a normal team in the NBA, kind of middle of the road, but like overachieving but underachieving team, is when they signed Tobias Harris and Horford over Jimmy Butler. Now, you may say Tobias, the numbers are fairly close to Jimmy B's. Tobias, when he played along Jimmy Butler, he averaged 18.2 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. Now, when Jimmy B played along Tobias, he averaged 18.2 points per game, 5.3 rebounds. That's 2 rebounds less than Tobias. And 4 assists. Now that's an assist more than Tobias. A thing with Jimmy Butler is what we've seen in Miami is he is a leader. He can lead a team. Now with Tobias, he's a backseat guy. You don't have a leader. And from the looks of that Philly team, does it look like Embiid wants to step up as a leader? No. Simmons doesn't even have the confidence to take his own shot, let alone tell somebody what to do. And that team is... that was the Steelers last year. That was like that type of a team in the 1 seed. It was just a weak team that was the 1 seed. But Jimmy Butler, since leaving Philly, averages 19.9 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game, and 6 assists. Tobias, after getting paid, averages 19.6 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. Now, different system, different places, it means a lot. But Jimmy's big thing, and if you watch from time to time, as he's went through the league, when he went to Minnesota, he got mad at Cat and Andrew Wiggins because they did not like to work out very much, and he got mad at that team because Minnesota, unfortunately, has a history of losing. He likes people that have a hard work ethic. And when he went to Philly, him and Ben Simmons clashed because Ben Simmons likes to go home and play COD all the time instead of working on his game. Now, from what I've heard, Ben Simmons will work on stuff that he's good at, but I haven't heard too much of Ben Simmons working on stuff that he's not good at. You always see him working on his shooting, but I don't know if that's whenever they show clips of it, like when he knows he's getting recorded, he works on his shooting, or what, because as everybody who's watching this video knows, it has not translated onto the floor what he's done. He just, whether it's not there or he chooses not to use it, we have yet to see his ability to shoot. We've seen 2 3-pointers last year, I think. If it's more than 2, I'm sorry, but that's really all I remember is 2. But what we've seen out of Tobias, I mean, he works well with Doc Rivers, but the team isn't really that much better with him on the floor. Because as I stated with Jimmy Butler, he leads people. Tobias does not lead, he sits back. And this Philly team has got a lot of questions to answer because I don't see a leader on that team. I see Embiid who kind of... He's a good guy he's like the guy on the bench clapping. He does his part. He comes in, he gets to work, but he doesn't really make the team come together and flourish. He just does what he has to. I mean, he drops 30, 40 points. He does more than what he needs to because everybody else doesn't step up. But sometimes you got to be like Mike. I'm not saying go knock a teammate out like he tried to knock out Steve Kerr, but you got to just tell guys. You got to hold people accountable. You got to, like when Ben passed up that dunk the other day, you got to be like, man, you can't be doing that. You got this. You're confident. You got to be a leader. And I don't see Embiid doing it. Like I said, don't see Simmons doing it. Tobias is a quiet dude. Don't see him doing it. So who do they have left that could be a leader? Shake Milton is not your guy. You got Thibault's a young guy, not your guy. Danny Green's not going to be that guy. Dwight Howard maybe, but not. I mean, no, he's not either. Doc Rivers is a quiet coach. He's a buddy type of guy. They have no leader, which is why the process is dead. I repeat, the process is dead. I'm sorry, Philly fans, but we've waited long enough, and it's just these minor moves they made have just taken them into mediocrity, which is, I mean, their mediocrity is 1 through 4 seed. But you're looking at the second round at the moment, unless Simmons figures out how to shoot, which is a possibility this summer. I think he has it in him. But do I know if he'll do it? No. We've heard about Simmons. Oh, he's going to work on his shot this summer for years and years now, and it's not happened. So, yeah. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you disagree, just hit me in the comments what you think about this video. But yeah, thanks for watching, and just everybody have a nice day.